3, 2, 1, action.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the February 26, 2026 work session of the Croton Harmony Union Free School District. Item 1.2 is approval of the agenda. Recommended action, be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 1.3, board reports, which is a discussion. I'm actually just going to start with a president's report. So, prior to the start of this meeting, Trustee Ashiro and I held the first of 2 information sessions for prospective Board of Education trustee candidates. 3 seats will be filled at the upcoming school board election and budget vote on May 19th. I would like to restate for purposes of transparency that these information sessions are an opportunity for interested community members to come forward and ask questions regarding the role and commitment of school board trustees. Most school boards throughout Westchester County hold similar forums, as does the Westchester-Putnam School Boards Association. In turning to the 3 seats up for election, it has historically been the practice of this board to allow trustees the opportunity to inform the public regarding their intention to run for re-election. I will turn to my fellow trustees at this time, should anyone wish to make a statement regarding their decision to seek re-election.
I think we're all ready. Thank you. I have been honored to serve the district for the last 3 years of my first term, and announce this evening that I do plan to run for re-election for a second term. Thank you.
Thanks, Naka. As Anarka mentioned, I've been honored to serve on this board for the past 9 years, and I will be seeking re-election for another term as well.
Thank you. Since we've been talking about length of tenure, in May, I will be completing my 28th year on the board. I am proud of my service over the years, pleased with what our district has accomplished, and want to be part of our future work towards accomplishing even more of our goals and aspirations. So I will be a candidate for re-election in May. Thank you.
Thank you all. Later this evening, we will be moving into executive session to provide Superintendent Walker with a mid-year check-in regarding his goals, in line with the board's established timeline leading up to the superintendent's annual evaluation. I will again remind the public that this is an annual process that starts with the development of the superintendent's goals, which are presented in a public meeting in the fall, and ends with the presentation of the superintendent's evaluation after the close of the academic year. We hope to offer thoughtful feedback. I want to thank Board Development Committee, and specifically the committee chair, Anamika, for instituting formal mechanisms to gather feedback from all trustees and to share with the superintendent. So as we take time to consider the superintendent's goals, I want to take a moment and remind my fellow trustees of some of the goals and commitments we made at the reorganization meeting at the start of this term in July. At that meeting, we each signed a school board member code of ethics exhibit, which outlined our intentions for working together and respecting each other's opinions. We also agreed to specific governance norms, as is this board's current practice. As new school board members, we each are informed of the governance principle of no surprises, a norm which is not unique to this board and actually is a foundation of good governance referenced in NYSBA's new member handbook, specifically item 319, entitled, "How may I ask questions at board meetings and still adhere to the no surprises rule?" While I won't read the answer in its entirety, NYSBA's guidance is to inform the board president and superintendent in advance of subsequent questions that will be asked, for the purposes of discussion regarding best options, to allow for the collection of data and information, but most importantly, to allow fellow trustees the courtesy of being prepared to conduct the work of the board for the public. So I will go back to Dr. Dubak's appointment to the role of Assistant Superintendent at our last meeting, where Board Policy 9230 was referenced in relation to the recruitment process used by the district to fill the administrative position. Again, for purposes of informing the public, as I stated at the last meeting, there was a very thorough process developed by the district in consultation with board leadership and the full board. Dr. Dubak was recommended to the board by administration as a candidate for the position of Assistant Superintendent. This recommendation was made in accordance with the district's ongoing succession planning initiatives, of which this board has been kept apprised at regular intervals. The district's intentions included ensuring overlap with Assistant Superintendent Griffiths, maintaining institutional knowledge, avoiding a costly search, and most importantly, keeping Dr. Dubak's talent and focus on the students in our district here in Croton Harmon Schools. Each one of us trustees met with Dr. Dubak in person. Dr. Dubak presented a 13-point plan during hours-long meetings where trustees were able to ask thoughtful questions and received direct responses. My understanding was that each one of my fellow trustees agreed that Dr. Dubak was uniquely qualified for the position. I will again affirm that I am grateful she will continue to work within the system. Had I been aware that Policy 9230 would be raised at the meeting, I would have taken the opportunity to prepare to discuss that policy, and I would have asked my colleagues to do the same. Having now done so, it is my opinion that under Policy 9230, the district is not required to conduct an external search, but rather the district is charged to implement and maintain a high-quality recruiting and hiring program to attract, secure, and retain the best qualified staff. There is no specific requirement regarding interviewing multiple candidates or external candidates. After the meeting, it is my understanding the district took the initiative to ask legal counsel whether Policy 9230 requires the district to solicit and interview multiple candidates, or whether the district can identify and hire an internal candidate by promoting from within without conducting a broader search. It's also my understanding that council provided the opinion that hiring an internal candidate without conducting a broader search does not violate Policy 9230. This legal opinion could have been presented to the board and the public had the specific policy concern been raised in advance of Dr. Dubak's appointment. To reiterate, the district legal counsel offered the opinion that there is nothing in Policy 9230 that precludes the district from promoting from within by identifying and offering the position to an internal candidate. This has certainly happened before in our district with the appointment of Carrie Bianchi to principal from assistant principal at CET, Michael Plotkin to the position of principal from assistant principal at PVC, Craig Campanero to the position of assistant principal from fourth grade teacher at CET, among others. At the same time, the district has searched externally to hire talented individuals, such as our PPS Assistant Superintendent, Rachel DePaul, PVC Assistant Principal, and now Acting Principal, Nicole Kelly. Further, the district is currently recruiting externally for the position of Principal at PVC. This clearly demonstrates that the district has long used a multifaceted approach to recruitment, retention, and succession planning, and sees the value in offering opportunity for career growth to individuals committed to the work of the district for the betterment of our students. At our last meeting, instead of being able to engage in a thoughtful, considered discussion of Policy 9230, the public was left with confusion. And what should have been a celebratory moment of appointing a devoted, long-time building leader to a district-level position was overshadowed. I want to apologize to Dr. Dubak, who was here with her young family, for not having advance notice that would have prepared the board, the administrative team, and even Dr. Dubak herself for what could potentially have been discussed that evening. In closing, I'd like to share that this board worked closely with the district to develop a process that would offer more of an opportunity for trustee involvement in the hiring of such an important position. something that had not been done up to this point in my tenure as trustee. In the past, trustees had been allowed a group meeting with new hires in advance of the board vote to appoint. These meetings were often informal, and they often took place very late in the hiring process. In contrast, when trustees met with Dr. Dubak, she presented a 13-point plan for her transition into the new role. She shared her philosophy and approach to education and the plans she had for the future, plans she hopes to share with the community in discussions this spring. So I hope members of the community take away from all of this that there was an agreed-upon process and that concerns raised regarding Policy 9230 have now been reviewed by council, and that the process did not violate that policy. And I also sincerely hope we will do better as colleagues to adhere to our established norms while building the community's trust that this board will always strive to do what is best for the students of this district. That concludes my president's report, so we can move into advocacy.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, advocacy was unable to meet on Monday given a blizzard. And now that we're all finally dug out, we will be looking at rescheduling that meeting. I'm hopeful we can get that in next week. I know I sent around some dates to
I already emailed, yes.
finalize that. But what will be on the agenda for that meeting will be a discussion of a proposed resolution regarding health insurance reserves, the establishment of health insurance reserves. And I want to thank Denise Harrington-Cohen for working with us to help put together a proposed draft resolution there that we will be able to discuss in advocacy and then bring to the full board hopefully by our next meeting. I will share also that it was also a topic of conversation at a recent LAGC steering committee meeting as well in terms of broadening that advocacy to a regional perspective. And that was quite well received. And so I think lots of districts will be having similar conversations at their board tables as well. So that is what I have for advocacy.
Thank you. Audit?
Audit will be meeting on April 9th.
April 9th.
April 9th.
So I'm going to put that on.
Hot off the press.
We'll get a calendar invite later.
Board development.
Board Development provided a full update at our last meeting and has not met since. As you mentioned during your president's report, we will be conducting our mid-year check-in with the superintendent on goals and other evaluation measures for the year.
Thank you. Communications?
Communications has not met since our last meeting where we give a full update, but we will be meeting next week. So we'll have a report after that.
And that's it. Policy?
Policy met, as I think we discussed on February 6th. We will be meeting tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the district office. We will be continuing discussion on, or commencing discussion on a policy related to artificial intelligence. We will be going further in our discussions regarding other policies that have been in our queue for a period of time. I hope for the March meeting we'll have lots of new items for first reading. So that's basically a hint to everybody. Let's get a lot done tomorrow.
I don't know if anyone has anything for liaison reports.
The only thing for liaison reports, and this really is not liaison, but probably more than just BOCES. Two things. One, I got notice today that at our March meeting, the PNW Student of Distinction from Groton will be honored, so I know that the district superintendent will be here.
Nice.
And the second thing is that the March 10th BOCES meeting will be at BOCES' new Science 21 facility in Mount Kisco, where a warehouse basically had been leased so that that program could be moved off the BOCES campus and that space be repurposed for additional classroom space. in the special ed Fox Meadow area. So there will be more to report, but we'll be having ribbon cutting 4:30 on the 10th.
I just have some reports that were postponed from our last meeting due to the length of the meeting, so very briefly. I don't remember if I spoke about this before, so apologies if this is a repeat, but as the board's liaison to chef, I had a great meeting with the chef leadership team and hope to be working with them and with my other colleagues who are serving as liaisons to put together some sort of event that brings together all of our community PTAs, service organizations, and fundraising organizations so that we can think of ways to sort of brainstorm as community organizations how we can work together better, be a little bit more efficient with some of the things that we do that are the same, and also work, I think, in greater coordination to support the schools. So more to come. Watch the space for another update. I'm not formally the liaison to the PVC PTA, but I did attend that meeting, and they reported there that the PVC Middle School Dance second annual was a big success. I think the students have really, they've really made this their own, and they had a really, really fantastic time. And it's great to see, this was a student-initiated project, which I think we don't see happen quite so often at PVC. So the fact that they were able to sort of organize, galvanize support, get parent volunteers, get PVC actually to help support a lot of the logistics was so great. They had a really, really wonderful time, and they raised a tremendous amount of money for the PTA, which is also really, really great. The last piece is that in my function as a board officer, I attended a couple weeks back one of our quarterly meetings with the village, and just wanted to report, because this is an issue of interest to the community and folks have come to us asking about it, that we have begun to engage in discussions with the village about looking into how we might consider returning to a composting program. It's something that we had many, many years ago. I think it sort of fell off during COVID. There's definitely been interest on both the part of the village, community members, and the district, and students as well, to bring back some of our sustainability efforts. So there will be some further news on that as well in the coming weeks. I want to be very clear, not news on anything happening yet, but on what it might require to put something like that together, because everyone has interest, but logistics are always a challenge. So that's all.
I just had a quick update. Again, I hadn't mentioned it at the last meeting, just given the length of the meeting, but I was able to attend the second meeting of the Athletic Advisory Committee meeting, which did a really good, robust discussion based on an article that I believe Neil shared with the committee chair about the students tending this trend of specializing in one sport that is leading to increased instances of injury because when you're focused on one sport, you're using generally the same muscles, and it can lead to an increased injury rate. So that is something that the committee is looking at, that our athletic director is looking at, but we want to make sure that we're monitoring amongst our student athletes as well, and thinking of ways that we can help combat that and make sure that our student athletes are healthy and safe and active. So, thanks.
Anyone else? So we will now move into our budget presentation from our transportation director and our director of facilities, Joseph Bernardi and Brad Kennedy in County Land.
Hey. Good evening. So tonight we'll outline our general budget, our transportation and facility budget priorities for the upcoming year. We have a full agenda. Oh, I gotta do two things at once. Here we go. So Superintendent Walker will start us off by grounding us in our core mission and walking us through the vision map, which serves as our North Star and our guide to all of our budget priorities and decision making. Next, Kelly Lent, our Assistant Business Manager, will take the floor and review our essential organizational support numbers. I would call these kind of the guts of our organization, and she will cover our general support, budget, benefits, debt service, and transfers. Following that, Joe Bernardi, our Transportation Supervisor, will provide an update on our transportation budget, detailing some of the costs that are associated with providing safe transportation for our students. Then our Director of Facilities, Brad Kennedy, will review our facilities and grounds budget and give us kind of a retrospective look on what we've done thus far and some of our upcoming plans for the year ahead. And then we'll conclude the presentation by looking ahead at our upcoming budget meetings and opportunities for community and board support. So with that, I am going to toss it over to our superintendent.
I'm just going to preempt that since I have you both here. I just want to thank you on behalf of the board and for all of our students. Your teams have just handled this winter superbly. There aren't enough words to say thank you. I mean, please thank all of the bus drivers who are handling these hairpin turns as the snow piles up, and to all of your teams who come and shovel and salt and then shovel again and salt again. Thank you, honestly. Our community really appreciates it.
Really level-headed people to talk to at 4:15 in the morning.
I was going to spare them the compliments. This is such an incredibly competent team. Between the closings and budget time, Kelly and I are on constantly. She is always there, so incredibly competent and committed. Joe, Brad, I could not do what I do without them. They're just an incredible team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So I just want to speak briefly, as I do at the start of really every budget meeting. I realize today this is the 5th budget cycle I've had a chance to be a part of here. And I think as the board and community will see, this is by far the most challenging in terms of trying to navigate through the financial, the fiscal realities that confront us and really all school districts at this point in time. And while all districts face similar challenges, I think we have a few things that have been foundationally built here that are going for us, and that make these processes a bit easier here. And one of them, of course, is outstanding leadership from our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Denise. Another is the Board of Education that has been wonderful stewards of the budget and the program here for years. And a third part of it is that we do have that driving document, that driving idea that helps us to make these kinds of really tough decisions. And one of the challenging parts of any budget process in any year, but particularly in a year like this one, is you have always so many competing, well-intended, wonderful ideas. And you can't say yes to all of them. And in fact, in years like this, you have to say not yet to almost all of them. But what you'll see, I think, not only tonight, but throughout the course of the budget process, is a team that continues to come together, grounded in the vision map, and innovate so that we can, if we're able to genuinely say to the community, we continue to add to the educational, the instructional experience for kids, even in a year like this one where we're not able to add to the people that staff the buildings and staff our classrooms. So I'm continuing to be deeply gratified by the outstanding work and leadership of the entire team, meaning the entire staff, the community, the Board of Education, and you'll hear from 3 of those outstanding leaders tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing these presentations. So, thank you.
So Kelly's going to kick us off with the general support, benefits, and debt service budget.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Denise. This budget proposal for general support, benefits, and debt service represents the essential financial infrastructure that enables our daily educational mission. By providing the necessary administrative oversight, sustaining a competitive and healthy workforce, and meeting our long-term facility obligations, we ensure a stable environment where students can thrive and the community's investment is protected. The first part of the budget covers Board of Education costs and the district clerk costs. These costs cover board meetings, policy implementation, and legal notices put out by the board. The district clerk's budget covers elections and public meetings, record keepings, foils, and conducting business on behalf of the board. The second part of the budget, Chief School Administrator, is our leadership, management, and supervision over the entire school system. Business and administration is the district's financial resources and investment administration. Please note that these budget amounts from 25-26 were pre-contract settlement from that year, and the amounts for administration and other benefit agreements. Auditing is a necessary requirement. We have claims auditing that reviews our weekly payments. We have internal audit yearly, which measures our annual efficiency and quality control. And we have annual financial audits that look at our financial status from external auditors. The treasurer's position is to maintain the district's accounting records and investment funds. We have fiscal agents that help with bond anticipation notes and bonding and other debt instruments. We're looking at possibly an increase this year because the board could possibly bond the 26-27 depending on interest rates for our capital projects. Legal fees are for our attorneys, for general counsel, for any litigation that may arise, personnel issues, legal opinions, bond counsel, and impartial hearings. The personnel department is the coordination of employee benefits, family medical leave, workers' compensation, recruitment, COBRA, lane advancements, and civil service compliance. Most of the increase in this budget category is from implementing our Frontline Central, which is an electronic hiring software that external and internal candidates will be using when we hire. And we did have some reclassification of some items from other codes. Records management covers records retention and disposal in accordance with general municipal law. Public information services is our electronic communication system and website development. Central printing and mailing covers postage for written communications and public notices. It also includes all our printing and managed print services and our leases for all of the buildings. Postage did have a rate increase, and we did add some new printers and copiers with lease renewals this year. Central data processing covers the costs related to financial software, the internet, telecommunications, disaster recovery backup systems. Our unallocated insurance covers our property and casualty insurance, all of our vehicles, our student accident coverage. The increase on this line is mostly due to the estimated addition to all the coverage for our capital project updates from completion of that project.
Kelly, if I could just jump in for a minute. So,
Sure.
much of the work that was done over the past 2 years has been in called construction in progress mode. So it hasn't been incorporated into our buildings and grounds costs. So there have been tremendous increases in property and casualty insurance over the past 2 years. So now we're going to be bringing on approximately between $35 and $40 million of additional equipment and buildings and grounds enhancements. This is a projection. We are now in the process of trying to renew for next year a little bit earlier so that we can provide all of that data to NYSER. But this amount could go up considerably, but we've provided you with an estimate at this point. But I will keep the board and everyone apprised of that number as we get closer. We have a meeting with NYSER tomorrow. Thanks.
School association dues covers school memberships in regional, state, and federal educational organizations. Assessment, judgments, and claims is our annual sewer assessment. And BOCES administrative and capital charges, Croton Harmon's obligation for participating in Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. Since a large portion of the district's budget is dedicated to personnel, benefits are a critical tool for recruiting and retaining high-quality educators and staff. Some of the items that relate directly to our staff are employees' ERS retirement system and the teachers' retirement system. ERS retirement contribution rate increased from 16.5% to 17.6% for the next school year. The TRS retirement rate did decrease from 9.65% down to 8.24%. But the increase shown on that particular line is because we have an increase in salaries. Social Security and Medicare are also driven by salaries. Workers' compensation, life insurance, unemployment, and disability are all New York State mandated. Hospital, medical, and dental insurance, the premiums have increased, estimated at 5% for next school year. We are part of Putnam Northern Westchester's self-insured cooperative, and the cooperative is doing well compared to regular health insurance companies, so they're able to offer us a lower increase than most other insurance companies. Other benefits covers our CTA Benefit Trust Fund, which provides dental and vision for administrative and teaching staff. The other employee benefits covers buyouts for those who don't elect coverage with the district, mileage coverage, and also contractual reimbursement for vacation buyouts per the contracts for CSEA staff. Moving on to debt service. Debt service is repayment of our bonds used for major construction or capital improvement projects. This debt is our fixed obligation of the value of the district's physical assets. We have a slight decrease because we have some debt from years past projects that are falling off. Interfund transfers from special aid fund. Transfers from the general fund to support the cost of providing summer school for special education students in accordance with their IEPs. And the interfund transfer from the school lunch fund is also a supplemental appropriation from the general fund to help support the child nutrition program. I think that is it for me, and I will pass it on to Joe.
Can we just, we're going to stop and see if we have any questions, but we'll start with Philomena.
So don't have any questions, just informational.
Just checking.
Yeah. Question. Okay, I have a couple. The first is, I just want to point out, so that everybody knows, but that the BOCES amount that you talked about is just the contribution by our district to the administrative budget. Just to make clear.
And capital.
And capital. When our district uses BOCES services for special ed, or for CTE, or for professional development, those are charged, not here, and we will discuss that, I'm assuming, in those, in those parts of the budget presentations. Question about debt service, which is the last thing Kelly mentioned. Said it's a slight decrease because some is rolling off.
Our EPC is rolling off from, our first ever EPC is rolling off.
But
It has rolled off.
what I'm wondering that is, as the work that we have done and will be continuing to do at the last part of our most recent project moves from bond anticipation notes to actual debt bonds, how do you see that in the next few years affecting our debt service? How, it increase, decrease,
Right.
and I know rates may change, but just what do you think?
So this includes both our bond anticipation notes and bans as well. So we can ban for another 2 years on our current capital project. If you recall, in our previous project, we went to bond early because the rates were so favorable. I don't expect that that will occur now. We will probably do some short-term borrowing, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. The good news is that we can structure our payments. We have some flexibility in structuring our payments so that we can try, because remember, we're always trying to keep a level capital exclusion under our tax cap. So we have the prior year capital exclusion and the current year. So we're always trying to keep that somewhat level. So we can do that when we structure the ban and or the bond. I expect that it's probably going to remain somewhat stable for the next year or two. And we're actually finalizing our long-term planning study, which I hope to share with the board in the next few months. And I'll have clearer numbers at that point as far as after the next 2 years.
Thank you. And related to that, just so I understand, earlier, Kelly, in your presentation, you said with regard to bonding, I think it's line item A 1380.4, that the board may be bonding for capital improvements. So we've proposed in the budget, $20,000 increase from
Fiscal agent fund.
Oh, fiscal agent fees, yes.
Oh, so that's the fees.
Those are
The fees that we're talking about for
to issue the
issue
ban,
bans.
bond counsel, so it's our fiscal advisors, bond counsel, and legal fees, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And caveat to that is, as our last EPC is rolling off, we will talk a little bit tonight about the hopes of initiating a new EPC to cover the balance of what we had recommended about the second one.
Thank you.
I just have two questions. Regarding the legal fees, I'm wondering if some of those fees don't also, that they also derive from having to have counsel overlook FOIL requests,
Correct.
which we had an increased number of. And then I guess my last question is, at a fall meeting with the village, there was discussion by Brian Healy regarding formalization of some services that the district received from the village. Was there ever a formalization of that, and did it result in any increased expenses?
No, I think we talked about possibly saying, so we perform a lot of services for the village and vice versa. So I think the intent was to, let's get everything on paper just so that we know for future leaders and so forth. But as it often does, life and business takes over, and those wish list items such as that get kind of tabled. So we didn't proceed any further after that. But we do have an upcoming village meeting, which we can discuss that.
Thank you.
Those are like kind of like field maintenance and things like that?
Yes, yes. So trash removal, maintenance of the fields.
Field maintenance, they store our salt for the trucks, for the snow, a lot of stuff. We help each other out.
It's nice. Good. I just wanted to know the discussion of formalization. I mean, from my perspective as a trustee, I was concerned that it would result in some increased expenses. So it's good
Yeah,
to know.
no, we, like with Spencer being offline during construction, we helped out the village with the fields more so than usual, obviously, because we do the brunt of the damage on them, so we have the equipment that they don't, so and anywhere we can help each other out. The banners, the athletic banners that are in the parking lot here, they have a bucket truck, they stop by, so anything we can sort of do to help each other out, we try to.
Very nice.
Yes, and I really commend Brad for that because he has strong relationships and is very supportive of their needs, and they are reciprocating as well. So, good job, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a dry but essential part of the budget. So next, I'll pass it to Joe.
Well, let me begin by saying thank you, Denise, and thank you to all of you for the recognition. I know that our transportation staff would be very appreciative of that, very appreciative. So let me begin by talking about the transportation proposed budget. As you can see, we have a overall very modest increase of 2.83% total. 80% of it going towards staffing, contractual being prom buses, insurance, tech support, training and conferences, water supplies, water sampling, septic services, drug testing, county licensing and permitting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As far as fueling, that's quite obvious, and then the software Bus Hive. Bus Hive is a program that we use in transportation to ensure that we're keeping track and testing everyone accordingly annually every 2 years. We have defensive driving classes that we give. We have behind the wheel testing. We have physical performance testing. It goes on and on and on. And Bus Hive helps us with that. Route Finder, which is our routing program, which helps us do our routing and optimize what we can with that program. And also License Monitor. License Monitor is another software program that we use, which helps us to keep track of any issues with any licenses. We're actually notified by DMV through License Monitor, and that's not only for our transportation drivers, but also drivers of vehicles in the Buildings and Grounds Department. So we're able to keep track of that as well. And that pretty much is the overall wonderful pie chart we have there.
Well done, thank you, Joe. So I'll speak to this briefly and you jump in and talk a little bit about the vehicles.
Sure.
So every April, we approve the ballot propositions for our vehicle replacement needs. So it includes any ballot propositions plus vehicle, including vehicle replacement needs. So for 26-27, we are proposing the following vehicles: one 66-passenger diesel bus, one 30-passenger bus, and one SUV. Those are current rates that we've been quoted now, which by the time we actually order vehicles and purchase them, it is, you know, a ways away. So we have to account for approximately 400,000. We'll up those figures a little bit just to make sure we've covered ourselves. In previous years, because of delays, because of changes in state contracts, we have had to absorb some of the costs in the general fund budget because we didn't estimate change enough. So as you see, there is not an EV bus on there this year. So we are approaching and we're at capacity at the bus garage. And we've just installed 5, through our capital project, 5 fast chargers in addition to the other 2 chargers. But because of our limited electrical capacity up there, they are not functioning. They can't function as fast chargers. They can only function as like a level 1. Level 1 single charger. So the speed at which they can charge vehicles is much lower than a fast charger. So we had a review and study done by Polera, which Kelly, I was a little bit hesitant initially when she recommended it. I got another electrification study, we've been through 2, and it was really invaluable, so thank you. And we got some good funding from it as well. So we had kind of like a recap after the study about 2 weeks ago. And the bottom line is we are really struggling with the chargers and the charging management system. Because of the size of our transportation department, on paper it might look good, but when Joe has to move 66 passenger buses around to get them into the charger, and this has to occur during the day because we can't have staff at night charging these vehicles with these single-phase slow chargers. So they had recommended that the best thing to do is look at your existing chargers, look at the management system that we have, because when we purchased that charging system, it was a ways back, and technology is progressing so rapidly that, you know, it's a problem being a first adopter, because we are leading the state as far as electrification. We just had another presentation, and Croton was all over that presentation from NYSERDA and ASBO. But now we've had some real-life experience, and we're going to just pause for a moment with regard to purchasing another electric vehicle because of our capacity requirements. We've had some struggles with the chargers themselves and their functionality, the buses, and having them sidelined for, we're keeping, you know,
very close tabs on that.
Yeah, and Joe, you can speak to this as well. But we are going with the recommendation that let's look at where we are today. We've also, because of the cost of the electric vehicles, we have slowed down our inventory purchasing. So we are kind of far behind. And the lead time for electric vehicles is, what did you say? 6 to 12, 6 to 18 months. It took us a year and a half for our last one to come in.
We still haven't gotten
And we still haven't gotten it. We had it, and then there was an issue with it, right?
That was the one that we currently have in the fleet. Then we have another one that we purchased last year that we're still waiting for, that we haven't gotten yet.
So the lead times are very long. We are short on buses, so we're going to pause here. I have a recommendation, it's very preliminary, for usage of the Transportation Reserve Fund to fund some overview of our charging capacity and long-term efficiency, reliability, etc. I have some concerns that we might not be able to utilize those funds. I'm waiting to hear back from bond counsel because it's a capital reserve fund. It's very restrictive as far as we might actually need a full-fledged plan in place in order to allocate those funds. But for now, preliminarily, we are going to see what we can do to kind of allocate some of those reserve funds to fund future work with the charging infrastructure.
And can I just ask quickly, with respect to the charging infrastructure, it's the Con Edison issue that we keep bumping into, correct?
Right.
They haven't pulled the line out to the transportation depot, so we can't use the chargers that we
We purchase high-level chargers, but we can't because of the, so we have about 180 kilowatts available. We have 240, but the transportation department itself drains or uses about 60 of those kilowatts. So, and I act like I know what I'm talking about. It really, this is way above my pay grade, and Brad and Joe, you can jump in. But we basically have about 180 kilowatts, which is exactly where we are as far as capacity. And so the other promising thing is that now the state has realized that this timeline that we have in place is far from sufficient, that they are going to need to extend that. So right now there's a zero emission bus waiver. That waiver, which we have like locked and loaded to submit, will carry districts, and every district in the state is applying for this waiver, and we expect that all will be granted it. That waiver pushes the deadline for purchasing EVs out to 2930. So it's a 2-year waiver that will be for the 26-27 school year, and will push us out to 2930. So we have that all completed, and we're just going to wait for the final go-ahead and submit that as well.
And there's no word from Con Ed regarding when they'll...
No, there was a EV bus commission presentation on Monday, on a snow day, and they said that you're talking 36 months. And whether or not we would be prioritized, I would say we would probably not be prioritized, considering how far along we are compared to other school districts.
I also just want to say we heard that 36 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I understand is, although we see it on this slide, the first of the two, I guess we call them bullets, but they're stars, are, that's really, may not even be proposed, and that's going to depend on whether what you've identified as areas that money would be used for, we're not even sure we can use the transportation capital reserve for that.
Right.
So that may not be done later. I do have a question for Joe, and mainly one of the things that I read, and I forget where I saw it, a recent, I think it was a statement by a certain school district upstate that said that what they had found was that the reliability on a cost per mile basis, or rather the cost per mile for operating electric buses, was much higher than for a diesel vehicle. And I know one of the things that we had heard, and one of the things that kind of impelled us to go in this direction, was notwithstanding, the feeling was, okay, the cost of the electric vehicle will be higher, but the operating costs will be much lower. So in the end, you break even. From your experience, thinking both in terms of reliability, how much it's off the road, they're off the road, and an operating, what you found is an operating cost. How do you see that? Because that kind of will help, help us understand when, how we felt, how we were going into this and whether.
So our first vehicle we received in 2021, in October, 2022, I'm sorry, in October. And from that point, that particular vehicle, from then to now, has been off the road for approximately 380 days out of 4 years. The other vehicles that we've received to date, in total, as we received each one each year, we're looking at close to 600 days that these vehicles have been off the road. As far as reliability, especially in this cold winter that we've had, not being able to use the full fast chargers, we're not able to charge the vehicles quickly enough in order to maintain the amount of mileage we need in order to heat the vehicles. We have to keep these vehicles at a certain temperature for the students on the bus. And if we're using that much heat on these vehicles, we're not able to keep the temperature. The batteries are draining way too quickly. As far as the chargers, we're looking at a total number of 494 hours since the beginning of December that the chargers have been down. We're keeping very, very close track on a day-to-day basis of the buses being used, not able to be used, and then the chargers as well. So it's become very costly because what's happening is we're spending an exorbitant amount of money on older vehicles that are more reliable. We're talking about 11, 12, 13-year-old vehicles that should have been replaced in the past, that we haven't replaced, and we're just putting more and more money into these vehicles. Don't forget they have to be DOT approved. We have to make sure 100% safety on every single vehicle. So yes, it is overall costing us more to keep these vehicles, to operate these vehicles.
So the total cost of ownership, so you have to keep in mind the cost of the vehicle less the rebates. That's like your starting point. And then you look at the mileage that you're using. We're a small district. We knew that going in, that we're not going to get the mileage and the payoff that we would because our routes are much smaller. So we've been using them for longer trips when we can, but the total cost of ownership for EV buses at this point is negative. It cannot compare to a diesel or a gas bus because remember the chassis, the main bus itself is still the same bus as a diesel bus. They rot and deteriorate because of all the salts and snow, etc. So that chassis is only going to have its lifespan. Then we also have batteries. We don't know the status of EV batteries yet for school buses. It's still too new. They're saying 7 to 10 years. That's what they're projecting. Batteries can cost $200,000. So if, let's say 7 years down the line, our batteries go, we know we're only going to have maybe 5 years of the chassis left. Do we then want to put another $200,000 into the batteries? So we're looking at all of that, kind of pausing, assessing, and In the meantime, other districts are moving forward, technology is advancing, so we'll take it from there. But cost of ownership of EVs is not where many have said that it is, even with the rebates.
Denise, quick question, because I know last year or the year before, right, the state implemented some more onerous reporting measures on a lot of this information to start gathering that information. Is these hours, like the hours of them being down and all of that, is that part of the reporting that the state is seeing? And is that an area, if not, is that an area where we should be also focusing some of our advocacy efforts and as we have these discussions?
So,
as far as I know, there are no specific reports or reporting to, to the state education department or anything to.
I don't recall any of that.
not downtime.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that they do require us, for instance, the first two vehicles that we received, 170 and 171, they're requiring us to use those for a certain number of miles per year in order to keep the NYSERDA grant over 5 years, the first 5 years. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to. We have reported that. We haven't been able to keep up with that 8,000 miles for the year because obviously, as you saw, those vehicles are costing us a lot of downtime. So they are receiving that information through NYSERDA, but I don't know how far that's getting once it's received there.
I think that's it's an important additional aspect to add in as we continue to have these discussions with the state in terms of the deadlines and this timeline for the transition, because if that is the case, right, that hampers a lot of districts.
And they do know that. There have been some recent EV study reports, and that was one of the #1 issues, besides charging capacity, infrastructure, and facilities, and downtime. Also, there's another grant. It's not the DERA grant. It's an EPA school bus, EV school bus grant that we have applied for every year. And in 2024, they decided not to award them. 2025, nothing is being awarded. Now they're pushing it to 2026, kind of 27 school year, and they have an open comment period now where you can communicate district needs and challenges. Part of that is they are redefining what is included in that grant. So it used to be just zero-emission school buses. Now it's alternative fuels. So now they're labeled. They've been very vague in what they've shared or general, but they're saying now they're offering the option of alternative fuel vehicles, alternative lower emission fuel vehicles.
Like natural gas?
Hydrogen, propane. And you also have to think about if we were to go in that direction, infrastructure is involved there, propane tanks or whatever it may be. So
because we have our own tanks at the bus garage, gas tanks, so that would require alternative fuels, alternative fuel availability at the transportation garage, which is...
So, just to touch on that, the village DPW moved up next to the transportation department, and from my understanding, they intended to put their fueling facilities up there, and being that they were next to the reservoir, they ended up having to put them down across from the Dodge dealership there, and they weren't able to get those permits, just as a point of reference. So.
I do just want to also just touch upon it in terms of the challenges. We've had challenges with mechanics also, have we not?
Well, it's like a completely different beast. But I will say, and I will commend Bird Bus, they opened up their facility in Yorktown, and thank goodness for that, because it's right around the corner, and they're very responsive. But again, it is new technology that hasn't been perfected yet.
They're actually finding things out from us for
Right.
our usage of their electric vehicles. They're making alterations to certain things due to the fact that we're reporting to them what these issues are, and they're making changes because of the vehicles that we're using.
And
Not
it's
that we don't
statewide,
want to
they're
be
putting it through a statewide database, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, a nationwide
Nationwide,
database
yes.
so that they can learn from our experience.
One of the things also that they did notice was definitely not expected, the wearing of the back tires, the dual wheels. The tires are wearing out very, very quickly. I'm not sure why, they're not sure why, I don't know if it's the torque, if it's the way the automatic braking, affects the tire, but we're looking at having to replace tires more often.
Well,
So that's another expense that no one expected.
and the additional expense of not having a reliable vehicle, right? Like, that's the biggest issue there, is that you're putting students on these buses.
Yes, and I have to
And the
say,
safety of your drivers,
yes,
obviously.
I was going to say, not only the mechanics, they're under so much stress trying to get DOT. Again, we're working on a close to 100% DOT rating, and in order to keep that rating, which they strive for, we have to have access to these vehicles, and we have to be able to use them. And if we can't use them, they're missing DOT inspections, so they're being pulled off the roads, and it's very stressful for the mechanics, and again, for the drivers. The drivers get into the vehicles in the mornings, and because of the slow charging, they're freezing. They're freezing. I have emails from drivers. Instead of coming in to talk to me at night, they'll go home and they'll send, an email. So I just wanted to let you know, when I got in the bus this morning, it was absolutely freezing. I had my coat, I had a hat, I had my clothes. So it's very, very stressful. Very stressful.
But we've made huge progress.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, I don't want to put 100% negative spin. Hey, we learned a lot. Bird Bus is learning a lot. Other bus companies are learning a lot from it, but that's how we learn.
And my phone doesn't stop ringing.
Well, I think as a district, we were also just taking the governor's timeline seriously, and we were trying to be proactive.
Yes, for sure.
So,
And honestly, I am proud that we did what we did, because we are definitely ahead of any other district. I talked to other transportation supervisors. Everybody. Yeah, and other transportation supervisors tell me, oh my gosh, you have five buses? Yeah. So they're shocked. So yeah, we made good.
It's been a good learning experience. And again, we were the first recipients of very large grants for each of these vehicles, so. Just to reiterate the vehicles that we're purchasing, Joe, could you just talk a little bit about the vehicles themselves and
Well,
why?
sure, the 66 passenger diesel, well, obviously that's basically what that is, the 30 passenger. We use the 30 passengers very often for getting into tight spots, maneuvering. We also found that in those areas, these cul-de-sacs and areas that we're turning around, we're picking up more students. So instead of having maybe like a 20 passenger, you have to use a 30 passenger to get in there, because we've got now 26 kids, not 18. So 30 passengers are definitely better, and it makes it able, or we're able to reduce bus routes by adding more students into those areas and onto those buses. So that's why we go with the 30. And then, of course, the SUV hybrids, we're going with those mainly because any out-of-district students that we're transporting, maybe we're taking one or two children to a specific school 20, 30, 40 miles away, whether it be special ed or 10, 15 miles away to out-of-district schools, private parochial. One or two children in an SUV as opposed to a 20 or 30 passenger vehicle that may be available at the time. So that's why we picked.
So both of these provisions, whether we're talking about the vehicle purchases, Those will be allocated out of current year fund balance appropriations. So there is no tax impact. And if we are able to move forward with the transportation reserve, that is a reserve, so there is no tax impact in the 26-27 school year and no borrowing implications as well. Okay.
Would, if we're able to do that, though, we would need to put that on as,
It would need to go on the ballot.
it would need to go on the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay. Where we go and what we do, our buses drive nearly 500,000 miles annually. We transport over 1,100 students, transported daily to 20 different schools. We have 17 out-of-district schools, and then, of course, our 3 schools. And then, of course, our daily athletic and class trip events.
So we actually have a trip coming back tonight, right?
Yes, we do. We have the trip coming back from Spain this evening.
So they
Finally.
Finally.
Quite an excursion.
Hopefully they're on the buses and on their way back by now. As far as mileage guidelines, nothing has changed as far as that. K through 4, 3/10 of a mile or more, they get bus transportation. Grades 5 to 12, 9/10 of a mile or more, they also do. And then we transport, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, non-public schools up to 15 miles. So that would be like the Hartley School or the Hackley School, private schools, you know, within a 15-mile range. And we measure from the base of the person's driveway where it meets the road to the drop-off location in the school. So we are fair and equitable to everyone. We use the same standards every time we measure.
As the crow flies, though, right?
As the crow flies, yeah.
No, it's not as the crow.
It's not.
It is the most direct vehicle route from point A to point B.
Until
Absolutely
it's
right.
challenged.
Well, no, we did have an issue, we had an issue years ago when we used the front door of this school, high school, and used the front door of PVC. And then there were some students who could get transportation to one school, but their sibling could not get to the other school. So that's why we changed it to be a common point somewhere in the back of the school, so we're counting everything to be equitable. We've also had situations in the past when some kids live more than 15 miles from a private school, JFK High School, and some kids live less than 15 miles, and there was a question as to whether we could transport the children who live more than 15 miles, and we basically came to the, I guess, Solomonic decision that if we were transporting anyway, because we had somebody within 15 miles, we would take that person, that student who is outside of 15 miles. So it's a formula, it's very precise, but it's also one that we try to work with families to make sure that we can accommodate them when we can.
Do you do that? Do you do that?
I will say, it's not so much that I do that, but the board actually had to deal with that and come up with those Solomonic solutions. Long time.
And that's one of the reasons why we do from the base of your driveway where it meets the road to the drop-off location at the school, because there's no question then, you know, as far as the measurement. Next slide. I'm going to skip to our vehicles first. Obviously, we have 58 total vehicles, as stated. 17 66 passenger buses. Out of those 17, 4 of them are electric, with the 5th one on the way. 26 minibuses and caravans, and then 4 SUV hybrids, 11 trucks and trailers that we maintain for buildings and grounds as well, and then of course the Toyota Prius hybrid, which is our mail facility truck. The reason why I wanted to go back to the full service to garage under the department, as I was mentioning to Denise recently, we say a full-service garage, and it sounds, oh, that's great, full-service garage. But the scope of a full-service garage is so much more than just a full-service garage. And I think it's important that everybody understands just how much these mechanics actually do. So I just wanted to give, a couple of instances. So we've got a bi-monthly 60-day preventive maintenance cycle. So we do a 60-day preventative maintenance cycle on every single one of our vehicles, whether it be a caravan, an SUV, big bus, 30, 20, whatever it may be. A 60-day preventive maintenance on all of them. We do engine and transmission fluids, gas, diesel, brake systems, hydraulics and air, steering, suspension, driveline inspections, lubrications, diesel fire heater, HVAC systems, diagnostic scanning and software, tire inspections, wear monitoring, undercarriage cleaning, corrosion control. We had obviously our 6-month DOT school bus inspections. Every bus is inspected, every vehicle is inspected twice a year. We have, of course, our New York State emissions and safety standards that we need to follow, diesel capacity and after-treatment compliance, inspections. Boy, oh boy, the list goes on. I could go on forever. Annual vehicle lift inspection, certification. We have air compressors that we use and maintenance on those. Fire suppression systems, EV charging, the infrastructure we know, the fuel system, safety compliance, OSHA guidelines that we have to follow. And of course, the stocking of all of our mechanical components, electrical components, lubricants, fluids, cleaning agents. And again, I don't want to bore you with that, but I just wanted to make it, known that again, a full-service garage is more than just full-service garage. That's only a small portion of what these folks are really doing, and I have to give them so much credit for what they do every day. And again, of course, with the staffing issues that we've had, they are really, really working hard to get these buses safe and on the roads every single day. And then, as I mentioned earlier, our exceptional DOT rating, last year we had a 95, I believe it was 95. Prior to that, it was 100. Right now, as we stand for this year, it's 100 as of today. Every vehicle has passed inspection from the beginning of July through now. Our next rating will be in May, so I'll keep you posted. I already discussed the twice monthly DOT. Again, the 6 spare vehicles, we're running into some issues with that. But again, Denise mentioned that earlier. We are falling a little short on our inventory of vehicles due to the past few years with the EVs. So again, we're working through it. We're getting through it. Get those kids back and forth every day. And so move on to the next.
Quick question.
We're going to go back to what, oh yes, I'm sorry.
Quick question. With the addition of the 3 buses that we're proposing, or the 3 vehicles that we're proposing through current year appropriations, would we be retiring any, or is that are we just adding?
We're looking to add. We would like to retire, but we can't.
Okay.
And the reason
because I know that cushion on the 6. It gets
so one of our vehicles, vehicle 131, we are actually going to be scrapping for the 184, the new EV that's coming in. That one will be going. 129 is in a little bit better condition than 131, so that's why we're scrapping 131. So how do I want to say it? We want to keep 129. It's 12 years old. We usually retire them at 10. It's already 2 years over and above. So we may be spending a little extra in order to keep it on the road, and to keep it up to, DOT guidelines, but it's reliable. And that's I have to go with, it's reliable right now. It's a diesel vehicle and it's working pretty well.
And presumably its body is in such case.
And the body,
yeah, it will pass.
it is in decent shape. It will certainly pass. Again, the corrosion control, they use the I'm not sure. Thank you. Thank you. The pressure washer underneath, they actually clean them under the bus. I stand out there sometimes and I'm watching what they're doing. I watched them drop a chassis out of a van this morning, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. But yeah, they're yes, so that's
Great, so we'll net increase of 2 then. We'll scrap 1 and then.
We'll scrap one and then we'll keep that one when we get, if and when we get this one diesel. Okay. What Denise said earlier about me and Kelly and Brad and how she couldn't do her job without us. Well, I can't do mine without this group of people right here. So we have a head bus driver. First time in 15, 16 years. Head bus driver. And again, thank you guys so much for proving that, because his name is Trent Fox. He does a phenomenal job. He has learned every program that's required to do our invoices and vision, our budgeting. We work so closely together on that. He's our trainer. He does our 19A. He really does a phenomenal job. Our drivers, I can't say enough about our drivers. They, like you had mentioned earlier, making these hairpin turns in these roads that have been, condensed down to one lane. It's incredible. The monitors helping them out, and being there for the kids and for the drivers to support them. The dispatchers, they do a great job. They're also drivers. It takes a real special person to be able to get these children back and forth to school every single day. And I just can't say enough great things about them. And I already boasted about our mechanics, so again, it's just a phenomenal team. And I'm so appreciative to be here working with them. I really am.
Well, we were one of these few school districts that were not short on drivers during
That is true.
years.
That
It
is true.
has so much to do with the culture. That
It really does. And I don't even want to jinx myself, but there are days where, we have 4 or 5 additional people that can drive if needed. And I'm talking about our 2 dispatchers, our head bus driver. But we have all of our mechanics and mechanic drivers. So we have all of these people that are more than willing to jump in if needed. So luckily, when everybody shows up, they can do what they need to do, and the drivers do what they need to do. So it's really a great group.
I just want to add, and I know I've said this before, that one of the things that I am so pleased and proud of with our transportation department is the care that each and every member of the department has for the students of the district, and the fact that they are really part of the fabric of the social, emotional, and educational services that we provide for our students. And I just, I don't know, if we can't say it enough, how thankful we are that we have a staff that embraces that role, so that they're really part of all of us.
Thank you. I can't say enough either, but thank you.
I want to piggyback on that because I noticed certainly with the girls varsity basketball team, lots of times you'll see other drivers sitting in their buses, and our drivers always get out and cheer on our student athletes. So I do, again, to piggyback on what Denise is saying, I do think it's a testament to the department that you run and the culture that you foster there, that we haven't had shortages as other districts have. Other districts have really struggled and to a financial impact because they've had to pay significantly more, and the students ultimately suffer. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we didn't get into it too much in this budget presentation, but the degree of training and professional development that you provide them, I think makes a huge difference.
Hey Joe, just look at that picture and I see some obviously wonderful familiar faces, but did the transportation center get an upgrade?
Yeah, you guys notice?
Future facilities project, really did a nice job.
Okay.
Okay. Departmental efficiency. So Pro implementation. I know I've mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it again. The fact that we were able to access Infinite Campus and combine the two to speak to each other has made such a difference in transportation. We are able to communicate with families in emergency situations. Even, we're going to be running 10 minutes late. The bus, we had to switch buses. Very simple to just go in there, send an email out through Route Finder. If parents need, or even if schools need to go into Infinite Campus, they can find every student with their bus, morning and afternoon, what animal they may be on, private, parochial, special ed, anyone and everyone is able to access that information, and that's all due to us being able to have the two programs speak to each other. And again, I've said it before, it's really made a big difference in the department, and it has made things so streamlined and so much easier with communications. Stop arm cameras. Oh, we are thrilled. We are thrilled to have stop arm cameras. They're just about all installed. We have, it says 6. They installed 3 over the past 2 days, so we have 3 more that need to be installed. The drivers are so happy. It's giving them such a sense of safety and validity, knowing that we care, and they care, and that's what the whole idea behind this is. I was getting drivers coming into my office consistently, day after day. Had another bus go through my lines. Had another car go through my lines. Another vehicle went through my lines, and we always had to fill out physical forms and send them to the police department. Now, everything's done automatically for us. It's on video for us. They also provided us with interior video, which makes it safer for the kids, makes it safer for the driver, monitor, makes it safer for everyone. So we can keep a watch on what's going on those vehicles. So this was definitely a positive thing that we did. At least that's how we feel in transportation. Reciprocal transportation agreements. We have a reciprocal right now with HUD. As you can see, each shared bus run saves over $40,000 for each district. There are some years that we will do transportation for a district, other years that they will do for us. Cooperative. That's why it's called co-op transportation. We have our OGS fuel contract. We have our automation of our 19A reporting. That, again, has become another issue that is phenomenal. Now that it's all automated, it's so much easier to keep track of testing. It's so much easier for us to send this information to the State Education Department, to the Department of Motor Vehicles. Automation is fantastic, and again, it's doing wonders for the department. Route optimization, that's through Route Finder, Transponder. We have been able to save eliminate, I should say, 3 bus routes over the past 2 years just by being able to use that route optimization. And again, it makes it very convenient for us to go in, pull up all the routes, see where the students are, notice that, hey, we can take a couple of students from here, put them on this route, take a couple of students from here, put them on that route, and eliminate this particular bus. So we're able to do that. We do that annually. We look at it. If it can be done, we do it. If we think that we're going to run into some issues, we hold on. But yeah, the optimization, that's very, very helpful. And again, that's Route Finder. And here you see some of our team building events. That picture that you were talking about, the phenomenal bus garage that's in the background there, that actually is the Sight and Sound Theater in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That was our very first outing that we had. That was our first team building event. We had a phenomenal time. It was great. One of our bus drivers, most of you know Janice, she painted that mural at the bus yard. That's the show that we went to see, Noah. And that was, again, our first team building event, and May 22nd of this year, we're going on our second team building event. So I want to keep that going. It really builds camaraderie with the group. We get in a bus, we travel, we're all together, and hey, it's a nice little family there.
Rachel wants to know if you need any chaperones.
Yeah, absolutely, Rachel. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Have you been there? It's beautiful. Then in the center there, you'll see this was our most recent holiday event, Christmas New Year event. Again, had a great time. Many people, including administrators, were able to make it, and we appreciate you coming and joining us. And then, of course, our recent Thanksgiving gathering. Not to mention, not pictured here, our refresher programs that we have twice a year. One is coming up on Friday, and then we have our CPR training going on Monday, the following Monday, on the 9th, Superintendent's Conference Day. And yeah, that pretty much covers all of our fun throughout the course of the year. Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you, folks.
Thank you so much.
We interrupted you during, so
Yeah.
we got another question. So.
Mr. Kennedy.
Okay. Thank you for having me, so I can tell you all about our great department. Thank you to Denise and Kelly for helping navigate through the whole budget process here. We're going to start off with our pie chart. We have an overall increase of around 2.4%. Salaries account for basically 40% of it. We have contractual services, which are up by roughly 10%, driven by vendor rate increases, material inflation. We also, through the Future Facilities Project, added the kitchen at the high school, which has equipment service and maintenance, grease traps, hood fire inspections. We also added a freight elevator to the basement, an ADA lift to the stage, which requires service and annual inspections. Our equipment line is up slightly, and that includes planned truck and equipment replacement cycles. Our fuel is down, which is diesel fuel for our backup generators for the buildings. They run weekly to test. We haven't had, knock on wood, any power outages. So we were able to bring so diesel costs have been down. The electric, there's a $100,000 reduction, which represents 17%. We had budgeted for the Spencer Field service upgrade as part of the future facilities, so we didn't need to budget for that again this year. And then water, we are up slightly because we replaced a water meter that is very highly accurate, and I think the village is getting us for a couple extra dollars. Then moving on here, we have
You good?
yeah, I'm good. If everyone's good. Our team here, so the facilities office, obviously director of facilities, office assistant, we have a part-time mail courier. There's the maintenance and ground staff. We have 2 maintenance mechanics, 2 custodians who are assigned to the grounds department and cover grounds and athletics. Each one of the schools has a head custodian, one day custodian, 2 night custodians, and 1 night cleaner. And then we have our part-time and seasonal staff, which would be sub-custodians, as well as our high school summer helpers, which is a great thing. We've actually had people who, I was a high school helper. I wasn't a sub-custodian then, but we do have people who make it through all the ranks. So
Brad, before you go on that slide at the bottom, we see that you covered over some of the plans for the new elementary school in Croton-on-Hudson.
yes, Neil, so you know I like history. So we had our template slides, and some of them had white backgrounds, and I figured, being that it's the facilities department, I should find some some blueprints or something to add in as the background there. So yes, those are actual original drawings so you would think that's CET, it's actually PVC. When PVC was built, it was an elementary school, or I believe it was actually K through 8 at the time, but that is actually a PVC original drawing, yes.
Says our school historian.
December 14, 1938.
Yeah.
So this past year, we had a couple promotions. Ishmael took on the role of CET head custodian, and we had Mike Haney, who took on the role of the high school head custodian when Greg left. We have new hires. We have Laura Anderson, who came from being part-time up at transportation, and she has come to the better place at the facility department here.
All right, I'm leaving.
Okay. And then we have John Harico, high school night custodian, Peter Perez, PVC cleaner, Chris Callahan, PVC night custodian, and Gerald Blackwell, CET cleaner. Both John and Peter Peter was a sub that worked his way into a role, and both John and Peter are Croton alumni. So obviously there's training we do throughout the year. This past December, we did some BOCES-led training on lockout, tagout, confined space awareness, SDS chemical inventory, and spill response. It was an all-day training session put on by BOCES under one of our COSA agreements. BOCES, a great partner and resource for safety and support stuff throughout the year. I don't know if you deal with Frank Guglieri, but he's a great asset, and I talked to him a bunch. So now we have some snow stats here. So on the slide has sort of a breakdown of our sidewalk, staircases, and parking lots throughout the district. Big picture overall, we have about 1.7 miles of sidewalk and stairs and 5.4 acres of parking lots and driveways. So when we get an inch of snow and it's like you have a 2-hour delay, you not have a 2-hour delay, there's 1.7 miles of stairs and sidewalk that have to get cleared and salted. And so I did some calculations based on just the 2 big snowstorms we had, and between all the buildings, the guys cleared almost 1 million cubic feet of snow. So if you put that into perspective, if you covered Spencer football field with all that snow evenly, it would be covering the entire field 20 feet tall. So that's how much snow these guys have moved in just those 2 snowstorms alone. That's the equivalent of over 1,800 triaxle dump truck loads worth of snow that they've handled in those 2 storms.
And just beautifully, I might add, not like cutting any corners, like these parking lots and everything. I mean, I walk those neighborhoods, it's safe.
You know, the storm, what was it, yesterday? I don't know, it all blends together. You know, like, we got maybe 1.5 inches or so of snow, and it's all like perspective. So beginning of the year for a snowstorm, 1.5 inches of snow, everyone's like, oh my gosh, like how can you have this, you know? After 22 inches of snow or so, 1.5 inches, we didn't even have to come in, we could have just, you know, it's all perspective.
Checking the temperature for midday,
It'll melt. So, moving on, this is sort of an overview of our buildings. We operate 9 buildings across 3 campuses, almost 400,000 square feet of interior building space, and 50 acres of land that require year-round care. We have 2 additions as part of the Future Facilities Project. We have the concession stand at Spencer Field with the bathrooms as well as the press box. And then moving on. So our maintenance team, their work responsibilities, we cover everything HVAC, plumbing, electrical carpentry, windows, security, cameras, whiteboards, tiles, floors, basically, you name it, we are somehow involved with it.
Joe, Brad, that image is...
Oh, so I'm sorry, yeah, so over there, that picture, I don't have the exact date, Neil, maybe you have some more info on this, but roughly, obviously the high school is around 1924, I don't know the exact date. Looking at the picture, it appears that there's construction-related materials on the site, so I'd imagine it's pretty close to the actual original construction.
Well,
Can't see any of this, but yeah.
no, the construction was done in 26.
Or 26, okay.
But, I'd imagine it was done enough, closer to 26, because, there's not a lot of work
Yes.
see being done in the trees.
And actually, for reference, the ginkgo trees are in front of the building and pretty mature.
We need a podcast.
This is the kind of content you'll get in every school's budget presentation.
So, okay, and so the school district facilities are constantly evolving to better serve our school community. Over the past 2 decades, we've made thoughtful and strategic investments through multiple capital projects, including the most recent Future Facilities Capital Project. These projects have dramatically increased the building footprint and assets and systems we maintain, resulting in improved environments for teaching and learning, athletics, extracurriculars, and community events and use. As a department, our core responsibility is to maintain these valuable assets responsibly, ensuring safe operation, reliability, and longevity. So some of the things, and I'll touch more on air conditioning, but we added I think it was last capital project, the PVC kitchen and CET serving area. This project, we added the high school cafeteria, or the kitchen as well as the cafe. Down at Spencer, we have the press box, which has HVAC, ice machines, bathrooms. We have put in a tremendous amount of bottle filling stations and water fountains, which all have water filtration on them. Technology-wise, there are Promethean boards, TVs, just technology everywhere. We have badge access with the electronic door locks. We have sports cameras, all of which need maintenance, break, and we're involved with. Last minute, we have a football game and the camera's not working, or so we respond to all those types of events. We have contracted services, so our facilities department handles a tremendous amount of day-to-day maintenance in-house, but for specialized, high expertise, regulatory required work, we rely on carefully selected contracted services. These contracts ensure compliance with safety codes, manufacturer warranties, health standards, and efficient operations, while allowing our team to focus on more core responsibilities across our 9 buildings. So here's sort of an overview of some of the things we contract out for. HVAC, we have a building management system, which is very complicated, and luckily we've used Clean Air. They've won our bid for the past, I think it might be the 3rd time, including renewals, so they've been here a long time, and the guys have really good relationships with Manny, who's the programmer, so they get him on the phone and he'll be on some other site and he'll log in remotely, and he's helped us out a ton, which is very, very valuable. But tree services, cleaning the gutters at PVC, certain things we aren't equipped to do. And to the right there is a picture of PVC under construction with scaffolding there around 1939. Picture taken from the corner as you pull in from Larkin, I believe. Is that
From my house.
from your house? Yes.
Thank you for that.
And then we have, so obviously we have done a lot of capital work through the Future Facilities Project, but we also did work outside of that when we had a little time on our hands. So we did a little refresh to the high school gym, which was a paint job, school colors. We put a video board in, in coordination with the technology department, shot clocks, scoreboards, a whole bunch of
Thank you.
a whole bunch of stuff there. That was both contractors who did that as well as Nikki was involved doing some in-house work, so we didn't have to contract it out. We also put in the high school trainer's room, which is a long time coming. We relocated some casework in-house, we painted, put up some walls and doors, and gave them a space that they could use, trying to find spaces out of nowhere. So,
Can I just ask about that? In turn, and I know it's not your budget necessarily, but I haven't seen it. What's the equipment that the trainer has? What kind of tables or other?
Neil, I believe if we fast forward down here to the timeline, what is that? March 12th, Christine will be here and she can go a little deeper on that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, so then going here, we did up at the bus garage, we did some upgrades, both contracted in and in-house. We did we contracted an epoxy floor. We had a new bus lift installed. Mickey did new LED lighting. He did new air compressor and air piping. And he also added additional electrical outlets and relocated some stuff that the mechanics reorganized. So we just completed that, but turned out absolutely amazing up there. Really impressed with that. And I believe the guys are liking it up there, right, Joe?
They're loving it.
Yeah, so. So moving on. So I sort of, being that I like history, I tried to pull some pictures, and I have to do a better job doing before pictures. But we sort of, throughout the past 2 years, it was all progress photos of where we are at the moment. So I tried to pull the oldest pictures, or original pictures I could find of the spaces to compare them where they are now. So here's the auditorium, which was original to the building more than 100 years ago. Over the decades, it's seen various renovations to keep pace with changing needs. Most recently, we did a major modernization, which included upgraded stage lighting, audio system, technical infrastructure, as well as aesthetic refresh. And obviously, the architects took care to preserve the original features and historical character there. And then we have the cafeteria. So the existing cafeteria space that was renovated was part of the high school addition, which happened around 2005. The new or I shouldn't say new section, where the kitchen part is and the additional cafeteria space was originally the main gym. And it was converted to an auto mechanic shop in 1958. When they put the currently main gym on, they got rid of that gym and it became the shops. And when they did that, they put a second floor in it because the gymnasium was tall. So the ILC is actually the second floor of the original gymnasium. And we'll get to a picture there in a second. You can see the wood. And then in '96, they turned the shops into classroom spaces. And it was original, I don't know if it ended up being this, but the drawings show they had ceramics, technology, and drafting in those classrooms.
All taught by one teacher.
Okay. And then it became probably around 2012 or so is when Video Production Studio or Suite went in there with a grant from Sandy Galen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then...
Or no, actually it was State Senator Libel.
So, a little bit of history there, but you can see in the photos. So the photos are actually pretty close perspectives as far as like point of views from the original and then to current. And then, so the ILC, like I was saying, the wooden ceiling on the left side there was the original gym ceiling that you would have seen, and then there was a catwalk that existed around the outer perimeter, and there's a picture I was trying to find, but I couldn't. So that floor was added, and that was around 1958, and then they had 6 classrooms, which obviously we knocked all the walls down, and now we have the ILC with the glass walls and all of that. Then we had the music room, which was built in around 1975. It was an addition, and that was at the same time that they did the bump out on the stage. So currently the stage sticks out about 15 feet from where the curtain is. The original stage ended at the curtain. So when they did the music room addition, they bumped out the stage as well, so you can see what's going on there. Then we have PVC Student Support Suite. So originally that was a kindergarten classroom when the school was built. And then later it turned into a science classroom and is now student support. And then we have Flex, which was the original main office, principal office, and teacher's room. And then when the addition to the school was put on, it briefly was the facilities office, and then it was turned into the guidance suite. You're shaking your head, Neil.
Yeah, wasn't that where the flex program went? Sue Lewis and so on, and then...
So they were upstairs in the locker room, and they came down to there. Then obviously we have the PVC Courtyard Outdoor Learning. So the addition is where the library and main office are there. It used to be a road that went up to access the back of PVC, and the high school field used to be able to have a full football field. They played football back there, but due to cutting off the access to the rear of PVC when the additions were put on, they had to put an access road, which is now the track, around that field, which is why we can't fit a full football field back there any longer. And then we redid the PVC field with the turf. When I was in school, it was mostly blacktop, and then they decided that grass was better. Unfortunately, when you have a couple hundred kids out on grass all the time, you never actually can keep the grass, and it turned into a mud pit. But now, luckily, we have this very nice turf field that you can stay on all the time.
There's not a time I pass by that there aren't kids playing on that.
Yeah. So here we have the CT multi-purpose room. It was built as part of the 1996 edition, as well as the music and art rooms that were added. Prior to this, students ate lunch in their classrooms after the original cafeteria was converted into the now library.
Interesting.
So here we have the CET library. We have some then and now pictures, and then on the bottom there's a picture of when the cafeteria was built originally in 1954, prior to it becoming a library. Now here's the CET gym. This was added as part of the 61 edition, which is when they also put on the 3rd and 4th grade wing. And then here we have Spencer Track and Field. Spencer was originally built in '77. Prior to the field being built, there was a house that actually existed on the hill in between Spencer and the district office, which burnt down around 1965. And Oscar Brand, who was a singer-songwriter, radio and TV host, as well as author, lived. And that's who's...
And how do we know that?
And that's whose oil tank we found. Well, yeah, so, when I guess when the house burnt down, they never dug up the oil tank.
Right.
We got to dig it up this summer.
Okay, so I had heard, and this is history, that that house that burned down was up near the dam, but it was not, it was on this property?
No, it was, I mean, I can show you exactly where the oil tank was, because we dug it up. And then, so, more exciting things. EPCs. We've done 2 EPCs in the past, and...
Can I ask, just because people are listening, we know what an EPC is, but...
Energy performance contract.
Thank you.
So we've completed 2 EPCs in the past, and we've basically tackled a bulk of the stuff that you can get real value out of as part of one of these contracts. But as part of the Future Facilities Project, we did roof replacements on sections of the school roofs at all 3 buildings. So shown in the pictures there on the slide, you can see highlighted in blue the areas of the roofs that were replaced that are areas for possible additional solar arrays. Our existing solar capacity is roughly 350 kWp, split between the 3 buildings. CET is the largest, and then the high school, and then PVC. Purely based upon square footage, the opportunity is there for about the same, if not slightly more square footage to be evaluated for the solar. Obviously, they have to come in, they have to look at the engineering behind the roofs to make sure they can handle the arrays, but potentially we can double the amount of arrays to slightly more than that on the roofs that we just replaced. Looking at some of the stats on our existing solar, we've got a couple charts up there. One is our electrical use district-wide, shown on the left. So in 24-25, we used a little over 1.8 million kilowatt hours, and that's between both our purchase through NYPA as well as our production through our solar arrays. On the right there is our solar production and the percent of production of our total use. So I was sort of surprised when I put all the numbers in at that April, because April is still early on as far as amount of daylight that we get, and it's sort of, and same thing like October, it's, it gets dark early, but those are sort of the times of year where we're preheat and out of air conditioning, so that's why the solar is higher, because we're not using heat or as much heat as air conditioning.
Can I just ask like a practical question? With respect to all the snow we've gotten,
Yes.
solar panels up on the roofs, does that prevent?
Yes, the snow covers all the solar panels, and you don't mix.
But does it stop the snow from melt? Well, it doesn't go under the panels at any point, does it?
No, it goes on the panels and blocks them from producing electric. And then, but because like the sun's beaming down, they typically will shed off the snow faster than just snow sitting.
Before we go on this, I know you mentioned EPC and possible opportunities. I think it might be useful for us to have a refresher, and perhaps for the public, as to how an energy performance contract works in terms of who we contract with, what obligations we have and what benefits we have. Because it can be kind of confusing. Lisa might help if we all understood it.
Sure. So, hello? Thank you. So our last EPC was with Honeywell. We did an RFP through a company that has since changed its name. What they did is they drafted the RFP, Honeywell bid on it. They were the architect of record. I forgot, it was the ECG, and they moved to Energy. They were the architect of record who files the report with the State Education Department. What you have to show that the savings over time will cover the costs involved for financing and the project itself. As far as payment, so we contracted with ECG, we paid ECG nothing. and they filed for us. Honeywell pays them. So their cost gets absorbed in Honeywell's cost. So that would be the case if we decided to move forward with an energy performance contract, which we have met with Honeywell. We have an existing contract with them now because part of the requirement under an EPC is that you get measurement and verification after the project is done to prove what was projected as far as savings for the district. So Honeywell did all of this work initially, evaluated those roofs and determined that they were not adequate to have solar on them. So we've met with them. There are huge incentives, huge federal incentives right now that would make this a viable project. So as Brad mentioned, there are many components to an EPC, like big money makers, like LED lights, like building envelope work and stuff like that. We don't have any of that left, which normally can cover the cost of the EPC. So because we don't have any of that left, we just have like the solar arrays, the viability of this project is almost solely contingent on those incentives, those federal incentives that are running out in the next year or so. So we would like to capitalize on that. Working now with, KG&D, who is kind of our architect of record for the district, knowing all of the work that they've done with the project at Honeywell, we would love to proceed, piggyback on that RFP with Honeywell, and then move forward with the solar if we can within the timeline.
But just so we understand the financial part of the process, the Honeywell with whom we have a contract pays
The architect
to
file all of the
file reports. Okay, and the work is done, and there are, we're going to presume, substantial savings in energy costs. That's why it's an energy performance contract. What do we get, and what does Honeywell get?
So,
Because Honeywell's not doing it for nothing.
yeah, well, they will get the incentives. They will cost out the project for us. The incentives will roll to them, and their costs will be absorbed in their proposal. So they will say, we are going to do this amount of work. We're going to give you solar arrays for these few buildings. There is also a potential for AC, because we have old heating units in some of our classrooms that now have old heating units and AC, that a part of the proposal could involve upgrading the heating elements and transitioning them to a heating cooling element. So that's another component. But everything is baked in to Honeywell's proposal. Their costs are baked into that. So there's no cost to the district, but there is the financing cost for the project. And that's where our money is paid out, to finance the cost of the project. That is factored into the savings that is projected to be generated from that project.
Thank you.
Okay, so on this slide here, we show the electric purchase avoidance by solar production district-wide by month. 24-25 was $60,096.42. One thing about the EPC in our initial conversations with Honeywell, our current system is behind the meter. So essentially right now we purchase our electric through NYPA at a very good rate compared to regional rates. So when we produce more electric than we're using, we spin the meter the opposite way, but we only benefit at the rate that, the low rate that NIPE is at. Now, since that, the solar arrays have been installed, there's now, Con Ed is able to do a direct solar to grid, which we can be on the front of the meter, which we could, Con Ed, because as a utility provider, they have to, come up with power. So they're incentivized to purchase power from us at a higher rate than what NIPA is currently paying us when we produce more than what we're using at that given time. So,
arbitrage almost.
Interesting.
So then, moving on, once again, through the Future Facilities Project, we have completed removal of all of our underground oil tanks at our 3 schools. We removed PVCs 2 summers ago, and this past summer we removed the tanks at CET in the high school. All of them were 10,000-gallon fuel tanks. And we've added heat pumps at all 3 buildings. Due to removing the underground oil tanks, we have a savings of around $3,000 in underground oil tank insurance.
And Brad, Brad, weren't some of the numbers for the county permitting that you identified and then?
Because now we have, as I touched on earlier, we have the backup generators at the schools, which have diesel tanks on them, and it's, I believe, 1,100 gallons per site, that if you go over, you have to be a petroleum bulk storage site, which then you have to follow county guidance, and you need to meet all their requirements, inspections and such. So now we have since reduced our capacity on all those sites at the schools, so we no longer have to file and permit with the county and all those costs as well. As part of the Future Facilities Project, we have added air conditioning, CET, 8 classrooms, the music and art classrooms, multi-purpose room, PBC, student support suite, teachers hub, high school, cafeteria, music room, 6 classrooms, and the fabrication room. Yes?
Hi, so just going back to the previous slide where you talked about some of the benefits of shifting, I guess, the size of the generator and the amount of fuel that you would, capacity that we have on hand, is that?
No, so we were classified as petroleum bulk storage sites because we exceeded 1,100 gallons on the sites. We removed our 1,000-gallon or 10,000-gallon oil tanks. Now we only have our backup generator diesel tanks, which are below the 1,100 gallons. So we're no longer petroleum bulk storage sites at our schools. And then because we removed our underground oil tanks, we have a reduction in our insurance for underground tanks. Our diesel tanks are above ground tanks.
Okay, so I guess the question, and maybe I might be like not understanding it fully, but is, so does this impact the number of days we can run the generator? Because we have...
No, the two separate systems.
That's what I would just want to know.
Yes, so
we still can run it the same.
The oil tanks we removed were to run our heating systems, and those have all been transitioned to natural gas. So the CET has been running on natural gas for probably 15 years consecutively without running. They were dual fuel, so you could run on either or. We switched to natural gas, and the oil tanks sort of sat there. So we basically, all the buildings now run, the systems that we could run on either oil or natural gas are now running completely on natural gas. But that natural gas doesn't cover all of our heating. We have heat pumps that cover areas, so.
Okay, I'm just like, have PSCD from Hurricane Sandy when we were running out of things. So I just want to make sure that we're still safe, which it sounds like we are.
Yeah, our generator capacities have not reduced.
This is more like just like environmental mitigation, basically, isn't it?
Yes, we basically have committed our fossil fuel burning HVAC equipment to solely run on natural gas now, and we have removed the risk of an underground oil tank leak.
Exactly, yeah.
And like 15 years ago, it was a required, like dual fuel
Yeah.
was being promoted. Like you needed, in order to be safe, you needed to have two
Yeah.
different capacities, and now it's huge shift.
Okay, so very excited about this final phase of our capital project, tentative construction this summer. We have at PVC additional AC installation for, the slide says roughly 10 classrooms. We have a breaking news update that one of them is a forced air system, 201, and it's tied into 101. So therefore, by upgrading 201, we're actually going to be getting air conditioning as 201 as well. So that's actually 11 potential classrooms that will be air conditioned. We have the CET tennis court sports lighting, and then some new playground equipment additions at CET.
These classrooms at PVC, they're the ones that face west?
They face southwest.
Southwest.
Well, I guess the front of the building, it's 3 on the front of the building for the 4th floor. And then the one back corner, I get into in an upcoming slide about the air conditioning per floor, per building and all that. But at PVC, essentially the hottest classrooms are the 4th floor classrooms. So moral of the story is, upon completion of this final phase, the complete 4th floor will be air conditioned. And I guess if we go down, next slide, I think.
Can we just also talk about the completion of the lighting at Spencer? So when we started the project, we were on the heels of COVID, and there were a million things going on throughout the country, and we decided that we would proceed very cautiously with our project. It was a $45 million project. It's a lot of money, a lot of play, so we kind of paused on this piece of the project. So the tennis court lighting, the great thing about that is that we have less courts than most school districts. We have 3 courts. Generally have 4 to 5 courts, but what this will do is this will elongate the schedule, where in the past we had those 3 courts, we would maybe go to PVC, which had a supervision issue and so forth. So now we have extended use of those courts for our tennis program. So that's wonderful news.
Especially for the fall players.
Yep.
Okay, so AC looking forward. So here we have sort of a breakdown that I'm going to go through of the different schools and their AC capacity. So CET at the end of the last phase of the Future Facilities Project is at 100% of classrooms having air conditioning. Basically every space with the exception of the gym, hallways, and some bathrooms are air conditioned. If we want to move forward with any additional air conditioning, for the gym, we would need to upgrade our utility service. It is at capacity. PVC, we are upon completion of the final phase, which we're hoping for completion of this summer, we will be at 71% of all classrooms having air conditioning. First floor, 2 out of 8 will have air conditioning. Second floor, 12 out of 14 will have air conditioning. Third floor, 5 out of 8 will have air conditioning. And fourth floor, all classrooms will have air conditioning. Fourth floor being the hottest area within the school. Upon completion, we will be close to maxing out the electrical capacity, and we'll have to do some more evaluation there on if we want to move forward with additional air conditioning in the future. High school, we're at roughly 50% of classrooms air conditioned. First floor, 5 out of 11. Second floor, 13 out of 23. Third floor, 4 out of 10. And the electrical service here, like at CET, requires upgrades before we can do any additional work. District-wide, we're at about 70% of classrooms having air conditioning, which I think it's pretty good for our region and talking to other colleagues of mine. So last year I spoke about Master Library, which was a facility software they offer different clients, and that we were going to looking to proceed with moving over to them. We have implemented iPads. They've been deployed to our maintenance techs, as well as each building has one. On those iPads, we have electronic access to documents and blueprints, electronic forms, so we do building checks when school's not in session to make sure, you know, windows aren't broken, doors are locked, the heat's working, we don't have leaks, which, talking to colleagues, and this very cold spell, it has been tough on some districts and buildings. So those forms used to be paper forms, they're now electronic forms. They used to go into a three-ring binder, and if you wanted to look something up or calculate something, you'd be going through paper. Now it's all electronic. It dumps into a spreadsheet, so you can, you know, look at things, you know, analyze things, which is nice. We implemented the Master Library work orders and drawings clients. On the right is a floor, it's a screenshot from Master Library drawings of the high school first floor. I know it's kind of small, but you can see each one of those tiny dots is a documented asset. So the assets that we have within the program include HVAC equipment, electrical panels, water fountains, gas valves, water valves, fire extinguishers, security cameras, AEDs. You know, a very large amount of assets are documented, which can be filtered. So if, you know, annually we have to get all of our fire extinguishers inspected. So we can, when the company comes out, we can filter to just fire extinguishers. We can print it out and give him a map, and he will see where each one of those fire extinguishers is throughout, you know, each one of the buildings. And so much more we can do with it. I'll go into it a little bit more in the next slide. And then the other benefit of the iPads is, and Mickey, who does our HVAC, was a little skeptical about iPads and technology. And when I told him that he could operate the BMS, which is our building management system, via the iPad, he was very excited. It used to be if he came into a classroom and there was a univent and there was an issue, he would either have to go there, look at it, and see like, okay, maybe the outdoor air damper isn't opening, and then go to a computer somewhere, log on, actuate it, go back and check it, or he'd have to go and have somebody else do that while he sat there. He now can operate all the controls while at the unit itself, which is really streamlining, and he is very appreciative of. So then sort of back to more on the Master Library, we have work orders, which tracks our man hours and categories. We put a lot of work into, when we rolled this out, categorizing what the guys do, preventative maintenance, grounds, technology, so that we can really document not only for budgeting and such, but also to be able to see, you know, Mickey does a lot for technology. Is he hanging boards? Is he running, you know, wires for stuff? So we really have a good grasp on what we're doing as a department. The drawings, in the middle there's a screenshot. It's the high school hydro boiler, which is in the mechanical room behind us. And the assets page, if you go in and there's a work order for this unit, you can see there's a work order history. So you go in and let's say it's cutting out on low water alarm. You can go in, you can see all the past history, everything that's done. You can upload manuals, so you click on it, you can have all the operator manuals there. Warranty paperwork. You can see there's a PM tab, and you can upload all the preventative maintenance schedules across the year, whether it's 6 month, 1 year work. So there's just a ton of data that is at the fingertips of all the staff. and it's been great. It's a lot of work to get it set up because you have to really do it right the first time and have a culture of following through on updating as things happen. So, you know, we've gotten, basically the timeline was over the summer, at the end of the summer, because we had the construction going on, so we didn't want the survey team to come in prior to that because we had all that stuff changing. So end of the summer, the survey team came in, documented all of our assets. Since then, we then, prior to construction, had a list of our 450 HVAC pieces of equipment throughout the district. And then we had to go through and match up the master library ID number to our spreadsheet number, and then go and upload serial numbers, model numbers, filter sizes, belt sizes, quantities into master library. So it's a very long process. We've gotten through the high school, and it's great. So we're going to continue chugging along, and hopefully next year I can do some reporting, because one of the things on our work order system is reports. So you can generate based off who's doing the work, what kind of work, the amount of hours, cost, and all that. So look for that in 12 months.
It's very exciting to see, because this has clearly been like your baby.
Yeah, you know, it allows you to make database decisions.
It's pretty cool.
So, and then lastly, also we spoke about this, or I spoke about this last year, Viking Pure Solutions. After the budget work session, we ended up doing a trial at the high school, and it proved highly successful in terms of cleaning effectiveness, ease of use, and staff satisfaction. We then entered into contract with them for the high school, and we then moved the high school, the current cleaning chemicals we were using, to the other buildings, and sort of did a phased approach. And as we used up the chemical at CET, we then rolled CET out, and then lastly rolled PVC out. And they provide us with hospital-grade disinfectant as well as a multi-surface cleaner, which is completely safe. It's stronger than bleach, and you can drink it. So, not that we recommend that, but you know, specifically for like the cafeterias and stuff, you know, they're eating lunch and then they're getting tables wiped down, and the kids put food down, and we used to have, you know, some chemicals that we would use, and now this is a green product. It's super safe, it's healthy, and it's generated on site, so we don't have to store. We used to buy like pallets of cleaning chemicals, and you run the risk of, you know, you're pushing a cart in or something and it punctures a container and it spills on the floor and all these things. Where now we don't have, it's not a chemical, and it's generated on site. We don't have to store it, frees up space. So really a win-win on all sides. So that is my last slide. Any questions? I know it's late. I'm sure everyone wants to get home 10 o'clock.
I was actually going to say, I think for me, this is one of my favorite budget presentations every year. I know I speak for all of us that I just say that we enjoyed the history element that you brought this time, for sure. But I think it actually, just like for the whole group, sorry, I don't have specific questions for you, Brad, because you answer everything as we're going through, but just like for the whole group, I think it really demonstrates like the scope of this enterprise, right? It's like how, like the number of people who are involved in keeping everything running, the amount of sort of like forethought and consideration that goes into like literally every piece of what we're doing, whether it's actually, you know, I know Kelly, you sometimes feel it's like your stuff may not be quite as compelling, but it's like the backbone of a lot of what we're doing here. And then Joe and Brad also, just in terms of keeping the buildings running, keeping the kids safe, keeping the staff safe. This is the infrastructure. So it's great to see how thoughtful you all are, and like what great teams. I mean, I know everyone said it, but it's like, you're what keep the schools running in so many ways, along with our teachers and our administrators as well. And I think it's just what a great presentation. What, like, you know, how thoughtful you guys are and how well you sort of know your areas. It's so impressive. So thank you.
I would just add one other thing. I agree with everything that Anamika said, but I think the other thing to note is that if we look at when each of our buildings were first built, right, the core of the buildings, 1954 CDT, 1939 PVC, 1926, this building was opened. And you think about the fact that it's not like we have, like other districts have, we're building a new building. We've been able, as a district, through thoughtful renovation and expansion of buildings, integration of systems within the old and new parts, and the work that we've done to put everything in such great shape and keep it in such great shape that every building feels old and new at the same time. And I think that's a testament to your department, Joe, to you, to financial and business office, and to the entire system. And I think as a community, we should be proud of that.
I mean, I'll just add that this is fundamentally about asset management, right? Like, these buildings and these vehicles serve assets to this community. The teams that you work with and the guidance that they have benefited from by having those of you in leadership positions, I mean, there's no price that you can put on that. So thank you both for your hard work. Thank you, Kelly, so much. The guts is what I believe describe it as. Of this budget presentation.
Thank you.
And it's important to understand and to do this work publicly and to go over line items and the detail of it all. And I know it's tedious work, so thank you for your attention to detail.
Thank you.
Now you guys can go and get home. First thing in the morning.
Full day, but come in early.
Don't be late.
You're not staying for policy? No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to put it on when I got in the truck.
Brad, please praise Maisie on her artistic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I got some text messages, and Kate was like, Maisie's asking where you are. What are you going on? She's probably still there.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Joe,
Spain is back. Joe, Spain is back.
5 more minutes, they'll be back.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. So this is a roadmap for our next presentation. So March 12th, get ready for VisionNet, Technology and Athletics, followed by the school district, the school building budgets, curriculum, and PPS. And our superintendent's budget will be on April 9th, followed by the adoption of the property tax report card and budget and the BOCES administrative vote. A little oversight there. And then May 7th, our public budget hearing. Mark your calendars for May 19th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the Aux Gym at the high school. We will have our budget vote. 3 seats are up for trustee elections and our propositions. And preceding that, we will have our 10th celebration, preceding our board meeting. Stay connected, budget.questions@chufsd.org if you have any questions. I will say I have a few questions that were put out there last week, right before we hit the snow and so forth. I promise I will follow up on those questions. Any questions? Okay.
If you don't mind, and I'm going to rely on Sarah and Neil to help me with this, I'd like to bump item 6.1, policies for second reading, up right now, in front of item 3, instructional personnel, just to allow our student ex officio trustee to be here and present for that policy discussion, and to allow her to go home at a reasonable time.
Unlike us.
Unlike us.
Sure. So I will move an amendment or revision to the agenda to move item 6.1, policies for second reading, to be placed above or prior to instructional personnel in the agenda.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you, Neil. So moving into our policies for second reading, I will seat to the chair of the policy committee, Neil Weaver.
Thank you.
We could do that policy first, just so that we need to leave.
Sure. So why don't I move the adoption of, second reading and adoption of policy 2125, ex officio student trustees. So I will move its adoption.
But we're doing, the resolution is for all policies.
No, I think, I'm sorry, it should be separated. I think it should be separated.
So we should amend.
We should amend it in, and I think we can probably do it by, thumbs up to say we will vote on each one separately.
Okay.
And then we will first, I moved adoption of policy 2125, ex officio student trustee.
Need a second?
I'm
Second.
almost seconds.
Any questions?
So on the policy, I just want to say, at the first reading on the 12th, a question was raised by a member of the board, I don't recall who it was, that the whether the exceptions of those who could serve as trustee, student trustee, should, those who would not be permitted, should include all of the individuals that are listed on page 2, which was, in the first reading, an officer of Student Faculty Congress or an officer of any class. And we were asked to get feedback from the school administration as to what they felt that the scope of that exception should be. And on the 13th, the day before the winter break, I had the opportunity to communicate with the high school principal, both high school assistant principals, and the advisor of Student Faculty Congress, and their consensus unanimously was that those exceptions should be an officer of Student Faculty Congress, President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, and the President of any class, which would be the junior class or senior class. The thought being that they will have a lot more responsibility and time commitment being the president of the class than some of the other officers. So, the policy for second reading has been revised to change the wording, an officer of any class, to the president of any class. Raising that and saying that we did not have an opportunity to circle back to Student Faculty Congress because they had not met between February 12th and today. That's the proposal that's here, and I guess, if anyone has any thoughts, certainly you should hear them.
I can at least give my personal input and the senior classes where I think we all agree that it was a good change for it to say the president rather than any officer, because certain positions, for example, the treasurer of the of a given grade, we don't they don't actually get to partake that much in meetings face to face. So I think it wouldn't interfere realistically at all. Other than that, I think we've heard over this. We've heard over this a couple times. I wasn't there for the last meeting, but I was filled in about everything. And so I think overall it's a very good proposal. I'm very glad to have the position I do, but even when I went to apply for it, I was very surprised that there wasn't more of a process, honestly, and that it was there wasn't any interview. I was ready. I was like, all right, and I was kind of looking at it, I was like, oh, this is confusing. But I think it's good, and I think also I think everyone wanted there to be a junior and senior, and I think that just makes more sense because it lets the junior actually know what the position is going to be like, and it's just a very, very good staggerment. So overall, I'm really excited about this, and I think I can speak for everyone because we were all very excited about this new proposal.
That's great. I just had one thing for students to realize is that as the policy is written, we would, both the associate and the non-associate student trustee would have the opportunity to attend board meetings, sit at the table. It's not, doesn't have to be one or the other. If both are available, both would like to be with us and contribute, the policy is written to allow that.
Yes. I think that's, I mean, I think that's our intention, right, I mean, that's what you all were thinking, right, is to have.
That's what I was assuming. I was assuming it was the junior and senior sitting together
Yeah,
at the
sitting
meetings.
together.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, from our perspective as a board, like, we've sort of been talking about this for some time now, and I think it's actually like the service of you this year and then your predecessors in the recent years that have made it very clear to us that we have so much to learn from all of you guys. And also, you know, there are long and late nights, and sometimes it's like you want to have that flexibility where someone can't actually cover for you. And so I think I'm very pleased. I'm really, thank you, Neil, for all of your work liaising with SFC, and thank you, Phil, also for just like surfacing a lot of this stuff as this policy was developed. Because I think this, like from my perspective, having been on the policy committee now it's my second year, it's like this is what we're actually looking for when we're talking about developing responsive policies, is to be able to actually get that student input directly in the language that we're seeing here, and build something that reflects, you know, what you all want, what we all want as a board too. So I think this was a really good example of like really successful and thoughtful policy development. I'm also appreciative that everyone helped us out at this table by fast tracking this puppy, because I know like a lot of, you know, we worked really hard to get this to you, and everybody read it and brought it back. I know Neil was probably going to say all that. Sorry, Neil, if I still leave that. But this is one that we're very excited about as a committee.
I am very excited about it. I'd also just like to point out the timeline of how these next two ex officio student trustees will be selected. So I would just charge you with taking this back to SFC urgently and developing that timeline so that we can make sure that the process is followed. There's a new process. If you have any questions, you can certainly come back to us or to Dr. Dubac or Ms. Fiorini. Yeah, that's what I have. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. You want to go home? You should.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
The other policy that we have, the second reading is staff participation in political activities. This is one of the policies that we are on our list to review because the policy as originally written referenced, this is one of the policies that we had as part of our review. And what I'm looking for here is the only change that you will see in that policy is that, let's print it out tomorrow, so give me 1 second so I can put it up, is that we removed the words as citizens, because we were reviewing this based on the communication received from a member of community that the participation in various aspects of our district is not limited to citizens. So we've been reviewing every policy where the word citizen appears. And the other addition is that the proscription on staff participating in political activities to solicit support for a particular candidate or cause will also include while the staff member is performing services for the district outside of the working hours, the regular work hours, as it says, such as if the staff member is a coach going with students to an athletic event, or is here in the evening, or somewhere not in district property, but doing something, with students as part of their job. And so those are the only changes in the policy. After review, we discussed some other issues or questions about the entire subject, but it was felt after the committee's discussion that we were best off leaving the rest of the policy as is and not making any other changes. So with that, I will move policy 1310 for adoption. And okay.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I thank the policy committee also for your hard work on this. We will now, I will turn on my microphone.
We will now return to item 3, instructional personnel, starting with item 3.1. Recommended action be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the instructional personnel amendment as presented.
So moved.
Second?
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 3.2. Recommended action be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Raymond Ferrara, Croton Harmon High School science teacher, effective February 24th, 2026.
So,
Second.
On the question?
I just wanted to say that I've known Mr. Ferrara. He's my son took AP environmental science with him. He was a very valued educator in the science department. I'm sorry he won't be returning, but I certainly understand why, and we'll miss him.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Moving into a new business, item 4.1, KG&D Service Order and Agreement Task Order number 7. Recommended action be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the Task Order number 7, Service Agreement between Croton Harmon Union Free School District and KG&D for the completion of the Futures Facilities Capital Project 2022 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
I just thought it should be clear that this is to basically implement what Brad talked about,
Correct.
to the additional work for the PVC air conditioning and the CT equipment and the lighting that we think is really great. And I just think we should commend everybody, our business office, our facilities department, our architects, our construction manager, with being able to complete the project up to this point on time and with below budget, such that we were able to finish up at hand. The ability to do more.
But I think that's an important point, right? Because these are the savings on the project that now we're able to add these 3 sort of crucial things, which, again, they were presented as this is part of what our plan is, but it is actually because of how efficiently the work was carried out that we have the funds to be able to do some of these things. And the funds would have to go towards something that was covered by the original referendum, so it's important to note that as well. It's not like we could have spent this money on anything other than specifically stuff that was covered by the scope of the bond request that was put to the voters.
Correct?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 4.2, Universal Pre-Kindergarten approving selection of Children's Space North and a Rising Star Children's Center, Inc. for the 2026-2027 school year.
So moved. Second.
I didn't read the recommended action.
Oh, sorry. We're just
So excited.
Recommended action, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the resolution approving selection of Children's Space North and a Rising Star Children's Center, Inc. to administer universal pre-kindergarten program.
Now,
Before actually you move it, sorry, do we need to amend the resolution? Because it's saying Child Space North?
It says Children's Space North.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
says it in the recommended action. I can't get onto mine, is the attachment there?
Yeah.
The executive content is just the check,
The
it's just
proposals.
the,
The attachments of the proposal.
It was the attachment that we had was the resolution attachment.
No, it was just the
prior
check.
to the change.
Yeah.
So I guess what you're
Yes.
saying is
Amend it to say children's space.
that in the, well, the
in the
resolution,
resolution itself.
the resolution says Children's Space North.
No.
In the,
In the
recommended
public content,
Okay, down here.
yeah, right here.
Does that need a resolution?
Yeah, so in the public content,
Yeah.
where it says in the title and later on the second whereas and the now therefore, that all should say
That should all
Children's
say
Space
Children's Space.
North.
But if you're going to amend that, can you amend the recommended action to also say to administer the universal pre-kindergarten program?
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you.
I think this was all moving very fast, right?
So why don't you, with those changes?
Yes, with those changes, so moved.
And so seconded.
On the question?
Do we want to hear a little bit about how we've landed here, just so we can update the community on where things are, maybe? Thank you.
I think we do.
This week's update of the UPK program for 2026. So at the RFP bid closing, we had a total of 3 submissions, one of which only proposed housing in our school, which is no longer an option. So we were left with 2 other bids, which are reliable community-based organizations. So what we have done over the past few weeks is to review the proposals to ensure that they met all of the criteria set forth in our specs and what we deemed as necessary to accept the bid. And then lastly, over the course of the last week, the business department, the business office, and my department met to use the evaluation matrix to ensure that each of the proposals were met the criteria and they were determined, a rating was determined for each component, which I shared in my board report, that matrix. So both Children's Space North and A Rising Star, they, after the evaluation, they both actually had the same score, which I shared with you in my board report. So we felt confident that they could meet the requirements and the needs that we have here for our UPK program for the 2026-27 school year. Now, we will just be waiting for the governor's budget to be approved so that we have a final per pupil expenditure that we could then direct speak to both providers, ensure that they can, would like to continue with us and enter into a contract with the district in order to, for them to be the 2 locations that will be housed at our UPK program. And then, based on the date of that determination of the final allocation, we will work together with both partners to establish the timeline for the lottery, open house, and final seating for said programs. Any other questions?
So amazing.
I think people want to get a sense of how many seats might be available?
Sure. So based on the total allocation that was deemed to be, I guess, given to us as a district, it was 64 seats. So we are looking to house and seat all 64 of those seats. And can I share the details? Okay. So based on the review of the proposals and looking at the feasibility and logistics at both locations, Children's Space North at this time, and these are anticipated numbers. So we're looking at about 54 seats for Children's Space North, which would be 3 full classrooms of 18, which is the maximum requirement of numbers of seats for a classroom that is housed by that is facilitated by both a certified teacher and an aide in the classroom. It's 18 to 1-to-1. And then the remaining 10 seats, estimated, will be going to a Rising Star.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. I just want to thank both of you for the hours you spent managing all of this and running these numbers. And I mean, unfortunately,
It's important work.
it is, and until the governor's budget passes, we won't know the ultimate outcome in terms of all of this. But thank you so much. Item 4.3, establishment of a new scholarship, the Laura Martinez Legacy Scholarship. Recommended action, be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the establishment of the Laura Martinez Legacy Scholarship at the Croton Harmon High School for a member of the senior class who is a first or second generation college student who has shown leadership and academic achievement.
So moved.
Second?
On the question?
I have a question, just the wording of these scholarship things, and I'm sorry I didn't see this before because I obviously missed it, so I apologize for not asking it sooner. Does this need to be qualified to indicate that the scholarship is intended for a member of the senior class who intends to enroll in college as a first or second generation college student? They can't be a first or second generation college student if they're still a current high school senior. So it's just, again, I think we're trying to get a little bit better about sort of like how we're documenting this criteria so that the scholarships can also be awarded according to the intentions of the donors. And I'm seeing a little bit of confusion in the wording. And I feel like we've actually seen this type of confusion in the wording multiple times. We're often catching it when they're on the agenda, and I apologize for not catching it before this point in the meeting. I think everyone knows I've had travel delays and sleep issues this week because of the travel delays, so I apologize for that. So thoughts?
So I guess my question is if we can ask the donor to amend this to say it's a member of a senior class who has committed to and plans to attend.
I mean, is that like sufficient to say it's like we're planning to attend college?
Well, we can't grant a scholarship to somebody who's no longer a member of
Correct.
a senior class.
Right.
So we can't have them technically be enrolled in college.
Right.
So that's
So it's
the
intention,
crux.
that's what I'm asking, is
Yeah,
that
well-
it's intention
Or
sufficient?
who is committed
Yeah.
to,
And if we look at other scholarships, they also say, right, it will be made to a member of senior class who is intending to
Right,
attend college and major in education.
exactly, yeah.
So, that's really the scholar, and it's awarded, obviously, at senior awards night, at which point the college acceptance will be known, and, that's what, and so.
yeah,
So I think
So-
probably we should
table
table
this, yes.
and then just have that change made, and
Can you do that, Denise? Yes, thank you. Okay, so we will table.
so I think we have to move to table.
Can you clarify the word that you would do?
I'll-
I don't,
So I just, at this point, I'd like to move to table item 4.3 for the purpose of obtaining clarification, as we have discussed. But my motion is to table.
A second, your motion.
on the question? I believe the wording is for a member of the senior class who has committed to attend.
College.
as a first or second generation college student.
And who has shown
And who
leadership
has
in
shown
that. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye. That's a motion to table, yeah.
Correct. Opposed? Abstained? Motion to table carries.
Did the other one we tabled already come back?
Yes.
Did, yes.
Last meeting.
Item 4.4, establishment of new scholarship, the Mr. Casey Memorial Scholarship. Recommended action be resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the establishment of the Mr. Casey Memorial Scholarship at the Croton Harmon High School to honor his legacy by supporting a graduating student who reflects the same values he embodied: curiosity, perseverance, compassion, and a dedication to making a positive difference through learning.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Do we run into the same issue with this one? As
I don't
the
see
previous
it.
one?
No, I had them put the sentence on the application,
Yeah.
to be awarded to a graduating member. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so it
this
doesn't
one
matter
says
that this
to a
person
graduating
has to be
member.
committed to a college like the previous one.
That's not what it says.
It's just to a graduating student.
Says
Okay, so it doesn't
graduating
have to be used specifically for college. Okay.
I don't think any of the, I mean, I think that
It doesn't specify it as
the majority of the
intention.
scholarships don't require, like they don't, the language of them, I mean, just like for the ones that we reviewed so far this year, they don't require that. I think with that specific one, the confusion was because the person couldn't simultaneously be a senior and also
Yes.
a college student technically at the same time.
Okay,
So
that
I think
makes
it was
sense.
like it's just a semantic issue. I think we've been trying to clean those up a little bit
Yeah.
as they come through, just again for clarity. And in this case, it looks like it's for, this award is also specifically like a one-year, one-time award as it's written. Is that correct? Right?
Yeah.
Just for a graduate of this year's senior class.
Thanks for clarifying.
And I just think we ought to know, for those who may not know or remember
Yes.
Mr. Casey, Rick Casey, I would say, and this word sometimes gets overused, a beloved member of the PPC faculty, social studies teacher, who retired a few years ago, passed away earlier or last year at some point. And he really embodied, as it says, those kinds of values that are mentioned in the resolution and imbued that in the students who were privileged to be in his class, including both of my children. And I think this is wonderful.
I'm very generous.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Moving into our donations, item 5.1. Recommended action be resolved that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation of $54 from Antonia J. Martinez, LLC, as a contribution to the William Billy Shea Athletic Scholarship at Croton Harmon High School.
So moved. Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 5.2, recommended action, be it resolved that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation of $5,000 from the David Edward Cohen Scholarship Foundation, Inc., as a contribution to the David Edward Cohen Scholarship at Croton Harmon High School.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Just want to say that Dave Cohen, a graduate of the class, I think, 2007, was the son of a longtime employee of our district, Judy Cohen. He died, unfortunately, of bladder cancer at the age of 34 or 35, very sad, and he was a valued member of our community, and I think the expression by the foundation and the awarding of a scholarship in his memory is very, I just feel very emotional about it, and I'm just pleased that this is something that his family and others are doing in his memory.
Judy Cohen, who served as the nurse at CET for many years before retirement, and David's sister and nieces are still very active in this community, so this is while incredibly sad, certainly a beautiful tribute to him. So thank you very much for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 5.3, recommended action, be it resolved the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation of $300 from Patricia Salon, the Casey family, as a contribution to their Mr. Casey Memorial Scholarship at Croton Harmony High School.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Just because I think these things are confusing me. We just established a scholarship earlier, and so this is just the funding for the scholarship as two separate.
Yeah.
The donation itself.
That's all. That was my only question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We will now jump to item 7.1 because we have already resolved item 6.1 via a previous agenda amendment. Item 7.1 is the approval of the consent agenda. Recommended action be it resolved the Board of Education hereby approves the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the question,
I guess the only question I would have, I'm sure I know the answer, but I just want to make sure. Under our policy 6900, all of the equipment, the iPads and MacBooks and Chromebooks, etc., I just want to make sure that they have all been wiped or everything that's on them has been proved before they are disposed of.
Agreed. Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Moving into our closing of the meeting, item 8.1. The next time that we meet, we will continue with our budget process, athletics, technology, and vision, thank you. And that will be on March 12th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. This is the close of our regular meeting. Item 8.2 is we are going to enter executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person or persons, after which we will leave executive session and move directly into the close of the meeting, the adjournment of the meeting. We will not do that for the live feed. Obviously, we won't make everyone wait until we leave executive session. So I will say good night and thank you. But first, we will move. The recommended action be resolved that the Board of Education hereby enters into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person or persons.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.